Welcome to Pokemon from Scratch, a sealed only challenge where with a budget of $30 a week, we will attempt to build a competitive deck using only the cards we obtain from buying sealed products. And the rules are simple, no trading and no buying singles allowed. Our goal is to ultimately qualify for the Pokemon World Championships using only these cards. Make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with this challenging competitive journey. Now let's get started. Welcome to episode 4 of Pokemon from Scratch. Our Darkness Ablaze blister packs finally came in, so it's time to get hyped. We really need to get big charms. It's such an important card right now in this meta for our Pikarom survivability. Crushing hammers will be nice to grab to help us hinder the opponent, and for the Pokemons, we would like to grab Vikavolt V, Crobat V, and Tapu Koko V from our Darkness Ablaze blister packs. So with our $4 that we got from the last episode, of this week's budget of $34, we're going to use $32 for 8 blister packs for a total of 16 packs. Now that's a lot of packs. Starting out with Sword and Shield, in our first pack we got a Ferroseed, Godin, Roselia, Joltik, a Snake, a Cactus, and Drapion as our rare, followed up with Metal Saucer and a Quick Ball. In our next pack, we get another Roselia, a knockoff Squirtle and Caterpie, right on, 2 Octopuses, Octopi, and the rest of the cards in the pack are duds. We got a Scorbunny, a Sly Fox, Chinchou, Diglett, Ferroseed, Rhyperior, and Corviknight as our rare. And our old friend Rotom-bike. Next pack, we got a Pikachu, a Sinistea, Wooloo, Shellder, Croagunk, Ordinary Rod, and Lapras as our rare. And yes, a Pokemon catcher. It's basically a non-supporter gusting effect if we can flip heads. Honestly, it's not a bad card to get. Halfway through our Sword and Shield, we got a Chinchou, Krabby, Minccino, Galarian Ponyta, Cottony, Reverse Hollow Switch, Seafood, and no big charms here. Please have big charm. Here we got a Roselia, Joltik, Trash, and oh, not as trash. And yes, we got our first Crushing Hammer. Probably the best card we got so far. Next pack, another Chinchou, Croagunk, Metal Meowth, Scorbunny, Sinistea, our 4th P-Gear, and a Hollow Bolton. And no big charms again. Please have big charm, please. And starting off, bruh, this is literally the same cards as last pack. Absolutely garbage. And we pulled no big charms either from 8 packs of Sword and Shield. It's literally an uncommon card. Moving on from our absolutely garbage Sword and Shield packs. First pack of Darkness Ablaze, we have a Sentret, Larvesta, some Shrooms, Toxel, Skitty, Reverse Passimian, and nice! Our first V of the day, Galarian Slowbro. Not going to be used in our Pikarom deck, but it might have some usage later down the line. Next, a Duck, a Beetle, a Snow Monkey, Lavatar, 2 Sly Foxes, Lugia as a rare, and nothing relevant. Next pack, we got Dynio, the Puff, Dunsparce, Kling, a Starfish, Reverse Parasect, and nice, our second V, Galarian Stunfisk. Another hit that we won't be using in any of our decks. Next! More Shrooms, Toxel, Skitty, Rowlet, Wishy-Washy, a Shiny Duck, and Hydreigon as our rare. And that's it. We got a Rookie D, Wishy-Washy, a Monkey, a Bull, Diglett, Trapinch, and hey, a Centiskorch V. If we can pull multiple of its VMAX form, we have a top tier welder deck. And nice, we get a Turbo Patch on top of that. Another form of energy acceleration that's really nice to have access to. Next pack we got Teddiursa, Pansear, more Shrooms, Fish, a Metal Elephant, Archozolt, which has a really nice passive damage effect, Corviknight, and a Heat Energy. Second to last pack, we have the T, Feebas, a Monkey, a Bird, Wimpod, some Gears, and whoa! A Rainbow Breeder. Wow, I really like the rainbow texture in this new set. It's so much better than the rainbows that were printed out in the Sun and Moon era. Alright, last pack. We got some insects, a Hippo, Golett, Skitty, a reverse Golisopod, and a Halahupa, which is basically a dark version of our Zapdos. So, from 16 packs of cards, we got a whooping 3 cards that we can potentially add to the deck, and that is Turbo Patch, Crushing Hammer, and Pokemon Catcher. I don't really want to add Turbo Patch yet since we don't have that many good targets in the deck since it can't be used on GX Pokemon. So that leaves Crushing Hammer and Pokemon Catcher. I like to add them both in since hammers will help us potentially hinder our opponents so our deck can keep up with the current meta, and Catchers is a pseudo third boss's order. We'll take out both of our Peekers for the Crushing Hammer and the Catcher since Peeker was just there as a space filler for our deck. Also, we'll upgrade the rarity of one of our switches to a reverse holo. So here's a full deck list, so now let's get into some games. So game 1, we're going second and we're up against Mad Party. Our opponent simply passes their turn with nothing to play. On our side, our hand isn't looking that great either, so we'll start by Stellar Wishing, which leads us into a Quick Ball. We throw out the Catcher to see if we can guss up the Sinistea, but of course we get Tails, so using the Quick Ball, we'll grab our Zapdos to try to knock out Benevolate turn 1. The Dene leads us to no draw supporters, but we get the switch and Boss's order to guss up the Sinistea. Knocking out the Sinistea is nice since it doesn't add a Mad Party attacker to the discard, and Poltergeist won't be able to come down to give our opponents more draw power. On our opponent's turn, we see the Energy Attachment, Rose Tower, and a Rod burn for Crobat V. Then comes down double Incense for 2 Mr. Rhymes before discarding them with Radar and then researching. Our opponent then proceeds to absolutely pop off getting his Mew, 2 Sinestees before using Dedenne GX, and being the absolute legend that they are, of course they're able to get the 6 Mad Party Pokemon to knock out our Zapdos. Back to us, we're in a pretty rough spot with the way things are going. Our research gets us into a pretty nice hand, which we can Quick Ball for Tapu Koko Prism and Hoopa. We're trying to keep the price trade even for as long as possible, which is why we're attacking with Zapdos and Hoopa. Our opponent then reminds us how good they are by having a U-turn board, Energy Attachment, 2 Poltergeists in hand, and a Dedenne GX to discard another Mad Party Pokemon and refilling their hand. Finally, using 2 T-Breaks, they proceed to set up their discard before knocking us out. Back to us, Jirachi gets us a Marnie, which we'll gladly take looking at our opponent's hand. Out of attackers, we set up Pikarom and grab Raichu to set up for the remainder of the game. Marnie gets us into a nice hand for the next turn, so we'll just retreat to knock out the Poltergeist. Unfortunately for us, our opponent has enough Mad Party attackers in the discard to one-shot our Pikarom. So it's just a matter of them finding the energy or not after the Marnie, and you guessed it, of course they have it. Not sure why they used Boss's Order here, but they choose to knock out our Raichu. So here I am trying my absolute hardest to find my last reset stamp to hopefully brick my opponent and sweep the game with Tag Bolt. However, as you can see, I priced the last reset stamp, so now I have to pray that the Marnie is enough. But you probably get it at this point. Of course my opponent draws into the energy. Game 2, we're up against Eternia's VMAX. My opponent goes first, but just attaches an energy and passes. So going into my turn, my hand is really awkward since I don't have any energy in hand. So I quick ball for Jirachi so that my switch can get the Pikarom out of active before using Professor's Research. Speed energy doesn't get us much, nor did our Stellar Wish, so we try again with our second Jirachi. We get a quick ball, which is amazing since we can grab the Dene GX and set up our discard with 2 lightning energies. However, we don't find our way into our Tapu Koko Prism, so we'll thin out the deck with Energy Spinner before hitting the fat pass. Our opponent finally gets Eternia's speed down on the board with an energy, so we know he won't be attacking this turn. His Professor's Research didn't get him much since he just benches a Zigzagoon, so now's our chance to pull ahead. We top deck into a Crushing Hammer, which is huge, but of course we flip Tails, because head doesn't exist on our coin. Here I try to pull up Eternia's V to get preemptive damage on it, but yeah, Tails again. Marnie doesn't lead us into much, and there's no point in using the Dene GX since I need the bench space for Tapu Koko Prism, so after using Stellar Wish, I just pass. Our opponent gets the drill, which sucks for us since that forces us to find Tapu Koko Prism if we want to attack next turn. The Marnie leads us into another trash hand, but Stellar Wish gets us into a quick ball which gets us our Tapu Koko Prism. I decide to Marnie here before attacking, though I'm not sure that was the right play since our opponent didn't do much with their hand last turn. So it might have been better just to hold on to the Marnie, but alas, our opponent pops off and sets up their bench before destroying our Pikarom. Back to us, we Marnie away the huge hand they have and hit them with the reset stamp afterwards for good measures, before we paralyze them with Tandem Shock. But of course, my opponent must be a leprechaun or something since they get the switch off of 4 cards. While I am crying, it's not that bad since my opponent doesn't knock me out, so I can still win by knocking out the Eternia's VMAX with Lightning Ride GX, retreat to the bench, and then knock out the Sableye V next turn with Boss's Order. I Malalana here just for fun before committing to the plan, so now my opponent needs a Boss's Order in order to win. My opponent then proceeds to top deck Picom to get Crobat, and with a new hand of 6, he gets Boss's Order. Game 3, we're up against Baby Blounds. He gets the Pelican and Jirachis for the Furnace. This really sucks for us that he gets it so early since our deck doesn't run any counter stadiums to remove it. Going back to us, I want to research if I can, so I grabbed the Dedenne GX instead of using Marnie. However, our Dedenne gets us into a hand of no supporters instead. We quick ball for Tapu Koko Prism and retreat into our Jirachi. Thankfully, Jirachi gets us a research, but unfortunately for us, research doesn't get us into a switch. So after popping Tapu Koko Prism, we're going to have to pass. Since we didn't use any hand disruption, our opponent kinda pops off with a Jirachi loop and a welder before knocking out our Jirachi. Here I promote our free retreater and just proceed to knock out the Bucephalon. I wasn't really worried about being knocked out because my opponent would need a huge hand and very certain cards to OHKO my Pikarom. My opponent proceeds to knock some sense into me as he somehow gets his one copy of Oricorio GX from a Great Ball. In addition, he hits the Welder from Stellar Wish and have the Switch, Fire Crystal, and Energy Retrieval all in hand. So now I'm sitting here wondering to myself, who do I have to kill to have this sort of luck? While I'm internally crying, I proceed to thin out my deck to hopefully hit Reset Stamp. I used Marnie instead of Research just in case I couldn't hit Stamp. Marnie gets us into the hammer, which is nice since we can potentially force our opponent to have one more energy in hand, but of course, we get Tails. As I'm drowning from depression, Raichu uses Lightning Ride GX here since this is the only way we can knock out the Clown. My opponent proceeds to go from 4 cards in hand to 10 cards in hand, rips the net from Stellar Wish, and proceeds to destroy our Dedenne with the Pelican. So closing dots, we went 0-3 this week with Pikarom, bringing our total record to 4-8. I do have to say that all our games were very close, but our opponent was just too good at the heart of the cards. In addition, I flipped tails in every single coin flip today, so that extremely sucks. Needless to say the least, Hammer and Catchers didn't work out today, but they would have definitely been great in every situation I used them if I flipped heads. These matches also show how important it is for us to get big charms more than anything else, as well as a counter stadium, so I'm really hoping that next week we can pull some from our packs. Subscribe to stay tuned for next week if you want to see me suffer more than I already have. See you then.